Hello. I think we're just gonna accept it. Hello. How are we today? Greetings, friends. Today we are going to be talking about books and movies that I've watched this year for the first time. Some of them for the first time. And also books that movies that I've rewatched that have emotionally scarred me. Yay! Books and movies that I've watched this year that I have really enjoyed having in my life. So here we go. Also, my hair is confused and frightened like a vegan at a barbecue joint. So we're just gonna not talk about it. Let's just dive right in. Let's just go for it. First movie that emotionally devastated me. And when I say emotionally devastated, I mean it literally chopped me at the knees, cut me up into tiny little pieces, and then threw those pieces into an incinerator. That's how hardcore this movie was. And then I'm just gonna recommend that you watch it. It's called Life Itself. Let's start off by saying spoilers, but no spoilers, because I want you to watch these. Dang, I'll try to not give away the entire plot. Shoot. Okay. How do I say this without giving it away? You're following the lives of a family. It's multiple family members, and you're following it through the entirety of the story. And I want to tell you to stick with it because the first 30 minutes, you feel like someone's stabbing you in the heart multiple times and it's just gushing blood. And just stick with it because it's so good. It's eye-opening in so many different ways, just about how you can live and how your life can affect so many other people's lives. And I think in a time that we're living in right now is so important. So if you want to cry aggressively, but in a really, really uplifting way, you just have to make it to the end, then watch this movie, Life Itself. Ooh, I just realized that the majority of these movies are about death. Wow, 2020 coming at me hard. The next film is called All the Right Places, which if any of you, you people that don't exist that I'm talking to, I did not read this book, so I went in blind with this film. I knew it was going to be sad, and I mean, I'm going to spoil it for you. I knew one of them was going to die. Let's be real. We all knew it. And I was like, who's it going to be? You get like 3/4 of the way through the film, and you think, dang, I think everyone's going to make it out. Wrong. No, they don't. False. Just makes you so hyper aware of checking on your friends, checking on your family, because you should. And the ones that you think are the safest, the ones that you confide in the most, the ones that you think are totally fine, you need to check on them the most. I recommend All the Right Places if you are currently in a pretty stable mental state and you want just a good little cry, but then to be lifted up a little bit at the end. Just a touch. All the Right Places. It's so funny that this year, 2020 has been such a kick in the balls. And I'm looking at all of the things that I've been reading and things that I've been intaking via art, and it's all very emotional as well. So I find that really interesting. The next movie that I'm going to talk about is called Serenity. People ripped this movie to shreds in reviews, and I had no idea about this. So I just watched it. And I was so invested. I had been taking an acting class and I found myself, how do I describe this? I would watch movies kind of mechanically. I would see, okay, we're in this scene. How did they prepare for this scene? How did they find themselves? How did they create this character? How did they move about in the set? I wouldn't be able to kind of lose myself in films like I did before I started taking this class. But with this film, I just was immediately dropped into it. And I felt like I was a little kid again watching a movie instead of analyzing everything that the actors were doing. It is about mother and child who are separated from this man, the father, and she marries a different man, and he's a horrible man, and there's the drama of, ooh, is she trying to kill this man? Is it a murder mystery? Is she going to get the father of her child to kill him? And then there's this whole second layer of the plot that you don't see coming. I thought was such an interesting plot twist that I personally would have never seen coming because it's kind of off the wall. I really enjoyed this film. Great cast. You think of so many scenarios. You create the scenario of the film as you're watching it. And you're like, oh, this is going to happen. Or this is totally going to happen. But no, it's not what happens. And I would give it a chance. Just give it a chance, you know? Let it go on a date with it. Let it buy you dinner. And then if you hate it, you don't ever have to look at it again. Next is The Beautiful Fantastic. Oh God, I can't even tell you how precious this film is. Here's how I recommend you watch it. It is fall. You are in a sweater, a big chunky sweater. Possibly the sweater is orange with red undertones in it. You have a cup of hot tea or hot cocoa. If it is hot cocoa, there have to be tiny marshmallows in the hot cocoa. If it's tea, make sure you put extra honey in it. You sit down on your couch, you snuggle in, you have like 15 pillows on either side of you, and you turn on this film. Or you're sitting in bed with your laptop and you turn on this film and you just melt. You just melt. I cannot express to you. It is about a young woman who has OCD tendencies, and she grows up kind of quirky, kind of weird, and she is terrified of gardens and being outdoors. And she was like gifted this home where she lives, which is being overrun by this garden. Her neighbor calls and tries to get her evicted because of how ridiculous this overgrown garden is taking. And then there's a love interest as well, so of course we're all just like, yee. And she works at a library. I wanted to be this character. She works at a library. She lives in a garden, which she will be beautiful by the end of the film. And she finds this cute little nerd man who comes to the library often, is just like seeing what she's up to. Oh, I need to watch this movie again. The ending is a little sad. You do cry at the end, so just to warn you. But it's such a cute, wholesome film. If you need something that will warm you from the inside and also just make you treasure life and the people in your life, watch this film. Watch this film. 10 out of 10, 100% recommend. Our next and final film is called Before We Go. I had seen this movie before, and I rewatched it again this year, and I was not disappointed. A story that follows this woman who winds up in New York, gets her purse stolen, and stumbles into this man who helps her try to search for her purse. And all the while, we're on this search for this purse, but then we find out the backstories of both of these characters, and it's just set in one evening, one night, with them meeting, finding each other, him offering to help her find her purse or help her get back home because she's trying to get back home to Massachusetts before her husband gets back home. And we don't know the reason why until the rest of the film unfolds. Not only is this just a feel-good movie, but it also is so... It's very nostalgic. I don't know how it's nostalgic, but it is. And it makes you think about what you want your life to be or what it could have been if you made different decisions in it. And I think that is so interesting. Yeah, this film is just so good. And it's just wrapped in this very sarcastic, quick humor that the two main characters have together. And it's shot beautifully, and there's just so many side plots and twists that they take in this journey together through this one night. We learn so much about him as well. It's not just about her, and they grow together as a unit and they grow apart as well. And it is definitely a film that I would recommend that you watch as a feel-good and also as a little bit of a, ooh, what can happen? How you kind of build your own plot of what you think could happen. And at the end, you're like, ooh, did I expect this? Did I not expect this? A little bit emotionally devastating because there is the undertones of so many things going on, but in a good way. I did cry watching this, but it's a good cry. Watch this film. Oh, they're kind of like movie therapy. Therapy that will make you bawl your eyes out. But I mean, that sounds pretty accurate for just regular therapy, so there you go. On to our books. The books that I'm going to talk about are either psychology related or are they self-help? I need a lot of help. Anyway, it is called Quiet. It's by Susan Cain. The Power of Introverts in a World That Can't Stop Talking. This book is about the differences and the similarities between extroverts and introverts and how nature versus nurture can form introverts in the world and how they are raised that might possibly form them into introverts. And oh my God, it's so interesting. Even if you're an extrovert, I think it would be very interesting to see what your thoughts would be on it and how you perceive yourself and how you perceive people who are introverts. Oh my God, I need to stop snapping and making finger guns. Another book that I read was The War of Art. This book came to me at such a good time. I was experiencing a lot of inner battles related to my creativity. It just talks about how to work through that. And one of my favorite things it discusses is resistance and how when you're feeling the most resistance to something and the most struggle and angst toward it and you feel like you can't push past it, that is the exact direction you need to be heading. When you feel that the most, that's the universe saying, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. It's just gonna be hard. So just do it. Just freaking do it, bro. Just do it. I highly recommend this book if you're feeling kind of creatively stagnant. It defines what you're feeling and it also helps you move in a direction to possibly fix those problems and work through them. And last but definitely not least, in the slightest, we have Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian L. Weiss. I was recommended this book by my friend Blake B. Love you. It is a book written by a psychiatrist who helped a patient through hypnosis and actually found out that she was able to find her past lives. I haven't finished the book yet, but I am so invested and I'm so intrigued. It gave me a lot of solace. I've been feeling very anxious about life and death. It's a page turner because it makes you feel safe. I am emotionally devastated by how safe I feel. Like it is so interesting and it makes me feel less afraid, which is really nice because I'm a very anxious person. It makes me think about the universe and about God and about people and souls and where they go and who they become and who we become and who we are. And it just makes me think, I'm like, ooh, I want to live my life. What would I want my reincarnation to see if they were put under hypnosis and told to relive my life? What would I want them to see? It's kind of like, what would I want my life movie to be, but more aggressive? And it talks about master spirits who she was able to tap into after she would pass away in her reincarnations. And speaking about the passing away, people never truly die. Their souls are just reincarnated into different people, into different lives. There's a lot of things like you can't rush timing, which I love to do. You need to not be judgmental and because you just never know what someone's going through. That's one thing, but unrelated to the book that I think about. It's very interesting religious-wise because I grew up Catholic and I think I consider myself a Christian. I'm still trying to figure that out. It's an internal, not battle, but conversation that I'm having with myself that I'm still trying to figure out. And yeah, I would just love to sit down and have a conversation with someone who has any form of religion that either believes in reincarnation or doesn't, and just have a talk with them about this book because I think it's so interesting. But I'm rambling now. That was my last little books and movies that have emotionally scarred me, but in the best way possible, or just made me emotional, or just made me happy. Yeah, from 2020. This year has been crazy and wild, and it's been nice to kind of ground myself in art and be able to kind of disconnect and reconnect from the world for a little short period of time. Again, just cut yourself a break, cut yourself some slack. Be kind to yourself, be kind to those around you, even if it's hard sometimes. And yeah, I don't have an outro, but Take care of yourself. Okay, bye.